We are so freaking conditioned about the importance of beauty and what that is supposed to look like that some of us are actually willing to risk death to achieve it. Well, that's crazy pants in my book. Stick around because that's what we're talking about today, and I have some bold opinions about all of it. Welcome to the Women Rockin' Midlife Podcast, soulful wellness to elevate your second act. You deserve to deeply love every moment of your life, living your best life with pure joy, optimal health and abundance, with the energy, time, and inner peace to savor experiences with your loved ones and with yourself. Hi, I'm Jen Kunkel. Join me on this soulful journey to complete wellness in midlife and beyond. Thanks for joining me today. I am in Las Vegas today. I've been going up to Utah during the summer to get away from the heat here. And I started raising quail earlier this year because I'm a big fan of self-sufficiency and learning to raise your own food. So I wanted something to get eggs with, and we had thought about chickens. And doing some research, I discovered that quail actually have a faster turnaround when it comes to them starting to lay eggs. They'll start to lay eggs at 8 to 10 weeks, usually, with enough light and under the right conditions. Anyway, we decided on quail. They seem more manageable. They require a lot less space. They're smaller. And yes, you do need to eat more eggs. I usually eat about 8 eggs instead of 2 chicken eggs. Anyway, I'm liking it so far. And we're relocating the quail. We had this big aviary, which was actually bigger than what they really needed because we had these grandiose plans that we were going to hatch a whole bunch of them. Well, it's going a bit slower than intended, than we initially planned, and that's okay. So this morning I was actually working on building my smaller, more compact quail pen. I'm still going to make it roomy and sort of like an aviary, but that's what I was doing this morning. I like to get my projects done when it's cooler outside, and it was overcast too. So I got rained on as I was putting the last piece together that I wanted to finish today. I still have some more work to do. I'm taking a little bit at a time. Anyway, that was fun and interesting, and it's coming together nicely, and I'm so excited about that. One of the reasons that I think it's important to be self-sufficient and grow your own food and raise your own food is because that's the only way we can really trust what we're eating. So I was watching this documentary the other day called Poisoned. I didn't even finish watching it because it was so disturbing. I probably got about halfway through. One of the things that it talked about was the E. coli outbreak back in the 90s. It was linked to Jack in the Box hamburgers being undercooked. So in the movie, I didn't know this. I do remember that happening, and I remember that people got really sick and some little kids died. I didn't remember how many. I thought it might have only been one. Well, what the documentary says is that it was four children, like little kids. Like one was, I think, 16 months, and that was so heartbreaking. Anyway, so what the documentary is talking about is that in Washington State, I believe it was, they had a regulation to cook ground beef to 155 degrees, where apparently in other places it was 140 degrees. And Jack in the Box claimed that they didn't know about that. Well, eventually they came across an internal memo that showed that they did know and that they were intentionally saying, yeah, don't do that. It makes the hamburgers tough. Okay. Well, as a result, a bunch of people got sick and 4 little kids died. And I started thinking, what the heck? What were there any? They didn't mention any criminal charges for the people who made this decision. And I'm just thinking, why is that? To me, that would be, I'm no lawyer, so this is just my common person thoughts. Manslaughter, at the very least. I really find it disgusting that they're still in business, and I didn't look into it further at this point, but I wonder if the people who made that decision still have jobs or still had jobs after it happened. It's been a long time, so maybe they're retired by now. Either way, it's not that I'm a big Jack in the Box fan in the first place, because that kind of food is very unhealthy. But yeah, I would probably have had it now and then. I'm going to keep this in my mind, and I don't plan to eat there again. Also, in the movie, they were talking about the specific type of E. coli that causes such tremendous illness. Apparently, there's a bunch of different types of E. coli, and a lot of them are essentially harmless or not as harmful. And this particular one, I believe it was E. coli 0157, is now illegal in beef. Well, before, it was actually allowed, and it was presumed that the consumer would be responsible for cooking it to a safe enough temperature to kill the E. coli. Well, see, so it was like a combination of two things that happened with that Jack in the Box thing. First of all, it was allowed to be sold that way, and when it's ground beef, it's all mixed in. It's not just on the surface, where I guess it would just maybe be on the surface if it was a steak or, just a cut of beef. And then in the ground beef, it's all mixed together, and it could be from multiple cows too. So if one cow had it and all the rest didn't, it contaminates the whole batch. So anyway, the laws did get changed to where that's no longer legal to sell beef if that's found in it. So that's actually a good thing. Yay. Sometimes the system works in our favor, right? Anyway, the premise in the past of it being the consumer's responsibility to cook it to a point where it's killing anything that might be in it, obviously was not ideal. So now, more recent years, you might think more about E. coli being found on lettuce. Well, how the heck did that happen? Well, this was also talked about in this movie. And it talked about how there's 2 main supplies of romaine lettuce. I think it was in the whole world, which totally surprised me. And that is in Yuma, Arizona, and somewhere in California. I forget exactly where. So they talked about how the irrigation water gets contaminated with the cow poop, and then it goes the irrigation water, right? And then the lettuce is watered with this, which is gross, regardless that your lettuce is getting watered with poop water. Yeah, that sounds fun, right? Definitely wash the lettuce. So apparently the E. coli can get on it through that. Yeah, so we don't cook lettuce. Not ideal, to say the least. Anyway, hence me being a huge fan of washing or growing your own food and raising your own food, because holy crap, how does that work, right? Yeah. And so that, can be deadly, which is super fun for everyone, right? Sarcasm there, of course. growing your own food seems like a good plan because you can control, at least a little more, how it's watered. Unless, of course, our water gets contaminated. Ugh, my head's gonna explode. So, yeah, that's everybody dealing with that. That's not even something you're choosing because you're trying to lose weight. You're buying into the conditioning or whatever. But when you are buying into the conditioning of what beauty is supposed to look like and how perfect you're supposed to be, you're always striving for this unattainable perfect, which isn't even a real thing because think about it. What's perfect? What does that even mean? I remember watching this movie when I was kind of a kid, I guess. I don't even know what it was, but it was about these models and this program that it had an algorithm that detected how perfect or imperfect they were based on some criteria. It was crazy. Some murder thing or something. I don't know. They were getting killed if they weren't perfect. I don't remember. It was silly and it just popped into my head right now. Oh, anyway. Yeah. It's not a thing. There is no perfect. We're all perfect. There's no perfect and everything's perfect and everyone is perfect. You're stressing yourself out to achieve this airbrushed magazine model appearance, which is completely unattainable in real life for anybody, including the models, probably. That's going to negatively affect your physical health because you're going to be doing things to achieve that are not good for you. And we're going to dive more deeply into that. And it negatively affects your mental and emotional well-being because you're feeling that stress. You're feeling unworthy. You're feeling shameful. You're feeling maybe guilty that you're eating, I don't know, an M&M and oh no, end of the world, right? You're not at the weight that you want to be. You're not at the weight that you think you should be. I'm not a big fan of shoulds and supposed tos. I'm using them here to illustrate that that's the thinking, right? You're thinking, I should be doing this. I shouldn't be doing that. I'm supposed to look this way. I'm supposed to wear a bra. I'm supposed to have makeup on. My hair is supposed to be perfectly in place. I'm supposed to weigh a certain amount. My waist needs to be, 26 inches or whatever it is. It's unrealistic and you're putting too much pressure on yourself and it isn't healthy in two ways. You're stressing yourself out, which increases your cortisol, which has all kinds of health effects, which creates the vicious cycle of you're having trouble losing weight too, right? Okay, so the stress is affecting you physically and mentally, and then the thoughts, the low self-worth, of course, that's affecting you mentally and emotionally. You might spiral into depression. You might have anxiety about events and not wanting to eat a certain thing or feeling pressure. It's just this crazy, chaotic cloud of negative effects, right? Can you feel that? Yeah. Well, some people become so desperate that they take wild risks, often, sometimes, or potentially with catastrophic consequences. So here's one big thing that I've been noticing lately is these injections, Ozempa, there's some other ones too, that were originally created as treatments for diabetics. Well, apparently it was discovered that you can lose weight on these. So now women are taking these injections for the pure purpose of weight loss. And here is the craziest part. So I'm in some groups online of women that talk about these kinds of things, for market research and such, and to connect with other people that are into this sort of thing. And I was in this one group, I don't even remember which one it is, but it's women, in midlife, menopausal, over 50, over 40, something like that. And they were talking about these injections, and I had never heard of them. So I saw the name, I started looking it up. This was months ago when I first heard of them. And I looked it up, and immediately it was glaring in my face that it said the side effects could be possible death, right? Along with some other things. But that one really stood out for me. So I went back into the group and I replied to the person's post or comment. I got involved in the discussion on there. And I mentioned the side effects. And oh my gosh, what was so wild, and I couldn't believe this, is that they knew. Like, some of them knew about this. And I got responses like, oh, well, the possibility of death is really small. It's only a small possibility. Doctors wouldn't prescribe it if it wasn't safe. Oh, well, obesity has risks too. And I just thought, oh my gosh, these women are taking this knowing that death is a possible side effect to lose weight. I mean, guess what? There are other ways to lose weight, no matter how frustrating and how difficult it may seem, that don't risk your life. So it's absolutely crazy to me that these women are in such this mindset that that's their only option. I've always felt this way about things like the gastric bypass and those kind of surgeries, because I've known people who've had them. And I knew one lady who actually got really sick because you still have to change the things that you put into your mouth after you have the surgery. So she would on occasion drink anyways, even though she wasn't supposed to. And like, she knew that it wasn't going to go well because of the surgery, and it would make her sick, or she would eat things that she knew would make her sick anyways, even after having the surgery, and it ended up making her life totally miserable. Yeah, she was thin and not healthy at all. It still wasn't healthy. So not just because of that one example, but because I know that it can be difficult. And I also know that when you commit, you can lose weight. So I remember one time I met somebody when I was a kid, like someone that I knew that was older, like a teenager, but an older teenager. Maybe she was 18. I don't remember. Had her jaw wired shut. This was in the 70s to lose weight. And I was just like, what? Like, that blew me away. Like, oh my gosh, now you can't eat any solid food? That seems so unhealthy. Even as a child, I just thought that was crazy. So that's another extreme thing. What about diets and diet pills that cause damage, that can damage your organs over time, right? Okay, so remember Fen-Phen in the 90s? Maybe you don't. But it was a big diet pill that was really popular in the 90s. Well, doctors were prescribing it, and you can assume, oh, doctors wouldn't prescribe it if it wasn't safe. Guess what? They were prescribing it, and it turned out that it wasn't safe. It was shown to cause potentially fatal pulmonary hypertension and heart valve problems, and they pulled it off the market eventually. So doctors don't always know, or they don't really have your best interest in mind. I don't know which. I don't know what their intentions are, and it probably depends on the doctor. Don't blindly trust doctors. Because doctors are prescribing it does not automatically mean it's safe. Because it's on the market does not automatically mean that it's safe or a good idea. Think for yourself. Think for yourself. You have a brain. Use it. Use it. Use logic. And think about, hey, if death is a possible side effect and they're telling me this, maybe I need to reconsider how important that donut is every day, and just simply commit to something different that's not life-threatening. If you are suffering from obesity and you're struggling with that, find another way. You're worried that, okay, well, I'm so overweight that it's a health risk. So I'm going to do this other thing that is also a health risk. That doesn't make any sense. Address it in a way that's not a health risk. And I am not negating the difficulty of it. I understand. You probably feel like you've tried everything. I get it. And maybe you feel like you don't have any other choice. Guess what though? You got to shift your mindset because you do have other choices. So, I'm not a fan of the extreme diets either, because I think those can be detrimental scientifically over the long term. Some of them can be detrimental. And in those cases, like say keto, right? Keto has been shown, it's really kind of the Atkins diet with a different name. It's rebranded. So being in ketosis for long periods of time can actually strain your liver and your kidneys. Now that's for long periods of time. So if you happen to be diligent in doing one of these programs to where you actually do get your body into ketosis a lot for long periods of time, that's where your commitment is actually going to be detrimental. So the reason that there's not a lot of problems with keto is that most people don't have that kind of discipline. And in that case, it actually works out in your favor to not be totally disciplined with a diet like that, with an extreme diet like that, that's going to harm you otherwise. Same with extreme calorie reduction or extreme exercise. For some people, those kind of things can lead to eating disorders, body dysmorphia. So balance, it's about balance. Our bodies are designed to eat food and like actual food, right? So when you take a balanced approach and you eat food that's actually food, it becomes easier. I'm not saying it's going to be easy overnight, because maybe it won't be for you. And the other thing is, your mindset is so important. So if you decide that it can be easy, it can be easy. So I'm going to talk about one more thing today that is kind of just because it is related to health. And it's related to social conditioning, and it's sort of my pet peeve, and that is bras, right? For women. It blows me away how I hear women talking about, oh, I get home and I just take off my bra, and it feels so good to get that off. The only reason a lot of us wear them is because we are conditioned to wear them, to feel shameful if you're, walking around braless, if your boobs are moving around or bouncy. I'm like a big C, so going without a bra is weird and awkward for me. And still, I do it sometimes. I actually did it for over a year one point in my life. And then I started wearing them again. I started being around different people. And I was kind of embarrassed that I had gone without wearing them. And it's so ingrained. It's one of those things that's so ingrained in our culture and in our mind that we feel not just weird, but actually shameful. I remember several years ago, I was at the beach with some friends, and one morning I wanted to go to a sit-down breakfast, and one of my friend's daughters did too. She was maybe 12 or 13. So everybody else wanted to just do their own thing. So her and I went and had a sit-down breakfast at a little place on the beach, and one of the waitresses there, they're just in t-shirts and shorts. She was young, she was cute, she had perky breasts, and you could tell she wasn't wearing a bra. So my friend's daughter said something about that, And I said, yeah, it doesn't look like she is. And she's like, I feel sorry for her. And I was like, why do you feel sorry for her? And I don't remember her exact answer, but it was obviously something about the way that even a 12 or 13-year-old had already been conditioned that that's not okay to walk around. Even with, perky breasts, and they looked fine. They didn't need any support. Just the fact that they weren't covered, they were just loose in a t-shirt. Oh my gosh, end of the world, right? And I kind of laughed and I said, no, don't feel sorry for her. She's comfortable. They look nice. Who cares? Like, it's just something that you have been trained to think is wrong. And I've even encountered that with myself. So I sometimes go braless now, and I still feel awkward about it sometimes. So, it's so ingrained, that feeling of, oh, it's shameful to walk around without a bra on in public. It's crazy though, because what's wrong with it? And there have been studies that show that bras can be unhealthy. Now, I came across mixed stuff about the underwires and cancer, and who knows, some of it could be skewed and spun. I don't know, maybe the bra industry has lobbyists or something. But I just wonder, what happened to the bra burning in the 70s and the 60s? I think our feminist counterparts back then really dropped the ball on this bra burning thing. So think about that, that was a thing. Like, how many years ago? I mean, that's been a while now. And it just didn't stick. I think I read in researching that, I came across something that said millennials are not so concerned about it, which I think is great. Yeah, so let's maybe consider burning the bras again for your health, for your sanity, just for your comfort. I mean, who wants to walk around all day feeling so constricted? Not me. No thanks. I mean, yeah, when I run or something, or if I'm working out, I'll wear them because it's more comfortable that way. Maybe at some point. Oh, also, I did research a long time ago, and I came across some things that were talking about how not wearing a bra actually helps you stay more toned there. So people are like, oh, I wear a bra so I don't droop, except for it's the opposite that happens when your muscles are used to being supported there, that it actually will make your breasts, or I don't know, you don't really have muscles inside your breasts, but whatever supporting tissues you have, it actually makes them weaker wearing a bra because they're being too supported. So I don't know. That was just something I read. I take everything with a grain of salt. I just know that we are just conditioned. We're conditioned to feel like we need to do that. All right, well, I spent a little more time on that than I intended to. So moving on. So what's the solution to all of this? To not feeling like you need to be a certain way, right? Not feeling so desperate that you're going to risk your life to lose weight, or that you're going to risk your health to lose weight. To me, it's about the balance of actually being healthy, and not only physically healthy, also mentally and emotionally healthy, so that you don't feel that shame, so that you don't feel that guilt when you're not perfect, when you're not eating perfectly. It's really difficult in modern society to eat healthy because there is so much around us that's not. So find a balance, find a way to start incorporating healthier things into your diet. But the main key is to forget about the social norms. Stop being shamed into toxic behaviors for the sake of looking good or how you're supposed to look or what you're supposed to do, and take little baby steps. That's always my thing, baby steps. Maybe if you agree with me on the bra thing, maybe just once a week, maybe on a weekend or something. Just don't wear your bra, ditch the bra. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get, and the more you'll be like, oh, why have I been suffering for so long? And love yourself. Love yourself exactly as you are. And anybody who doesn't love you for who you are, too bad. Be free to be your badass, healthy self, whatever that freaking looks like, right? All right, now on to questions to contemplate, your journaling, your contemplation. The first question, notice your own conditioning. What do you believe because society says that you should believe it? And really think about it. In fact, that's it for today. That's all we're going to do. What beliefs do you have that are not really supporting you, that come from society and not from what you really believe? I mean, okay, the whole point of a belief is that you do believe it. So really think about the thoughts and beliefs that you have around your looks, the way that you need to look or are supposed to look, and your health and your weight. So just maybe even brainstorm and jot down all the things that you're thinking in your head about that, and really evaluate, is this something that's true? Is it really true? Or is it something that society says is true, which is different, right? All right. And then I always like to add an action step, even though I said only one thing. Add an action step. What is one small baby step that you are going to take this week to start to shift that, to start to break away from that conditioning? What is one specific, tangible step that you can take that will help you kind of start to bust out of any conditioning that you're believing? All right. So write that down, commit to it, send me a message somewhere in the comments on my social, and let me know what it is, because I'd like to hear from you. All right, I am going to finish my quail pen. I'll probably actually do that tomorrow, in all honesty. And you all have a wonderful day. If you know someone who will benefit from this episode and you got value from it, please pass it along. And I will talk to you next time. Much love.